When I remember my father, I see this wash of distant memories with little order. I see the inside of his old blue Toyota truck as we're driving around before the sun rises, looking for yard sales. We might stop and look for some tools and maybe pick up a toy for me if I was lucky. I think some rich Mullins song would probably be blaring from his truck stereo. I feel the prick of branches as my siblings and I pick fruit for him to juice. We'd reach through clouds of gnats to pick up rotting apricots from the ground. Each one we claimed and put into our Ziploc bag would get us 5 cents. He was always working on some remodel for our blue 2-story house. As I helped him, if I slacked, I'd hear his voice boom, and I knew that I had to work harder. The buzz of his table saw would go late into the night, far past the time I'd been put to bed, and would start up early before I'd risen. The smell and the feel of sawdust hung in his workshop, this converted garage that he fondly titled the Palace. As he worked, sweat would drip from his chin, and he'd keep at his side this 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew with a water bottle cap screwed to it for easy access. I remember one time after my little brother got a sip from it, he started dancing all crazy, and my Uncle Steve labeled him the Mountain Dew Man. My father had this endless vocabulary of his own goofy, made-up words, and he had nicknames for each one of us: me, Ange, my sister Hall, my brother Caves, or Caves or Delight because he liked cream in his coffee, and my sister Crystal of Tea. We attended just this sea of church functions, from baptisms under palm trees to barbecues and pool parties at community pools, sleeping in sleeping bags in our backyard to wake up to the roar of hot air balloons in the morning. We'd call out to them and try to get them to wave back. My brother and I would wake up at 5 a.m. every Friday to have breakfast with him and all these church elders at Caro's. Every Sunday in the youth group room, we'd hear my father arrive to church. His infectious laughter would reach the room all the way from the chapel. Our youth pastor would usually stop his talking and make some joke about how you always knew when he was around. I remember camping trips to Dinky Creek with the Petersons and their group of families, going 1 year from tent to tent trailer, going fishing and not catching anything, but always being ready to go the next morning to the creek to try again. We did a lot of the typical kind of things that you do when you camp. You know, we'd make s'mores, go stargazing. But around the campfire, groups would be spellbound by his stories and antics, tales of Herman the Worm or Herman the Worm, memories far back of Camp Chickasaw, where my Uncle Steve and Aunt Terry and Mother helped him run this camp for disabled campers. I remember him taking me to the snack bar when it was closed and letting me choose between Reese's Pieces and a Hershey's chocolate bar from the biggest box of candy that I'd ever seen. I remember my mother's arts and crafts class and spotting a bear with my father and not feeling any fear coming from him. I remember one of the dances that they put on in some cabin of people laughing and moving, and a VHS camera floating through and capturing the energy. I remember songs by campfire. I remember beaded bracelets. I remember canoes out on the lake. This one time when I was probably 10 or 11 years old, we had this large group of friends coming to our house after church, and we were all getting ready, and he asked me to pour a bowl of salsa, and without thinking, I poured the whole jug of La Victoria salsa into a salad bowl. He saw this and thought I did it to spite him. He got angry and yelled at me in front of my mother and my siblings. He had this anger that could make me feel so alone. But I also remember when I gave myself alcohol poisoning in the 10th grade, going from bathroom to bathroom to bathroom one foggy day at Clovis High School. I remember shouting expletives as they pumped the alcohol out of my blood through this washed out, drunken haze. I remember how he gave me a ride home with my plastic bag of throw-up soaked clothes, and how he told me that I should relax so I wouldn't scare my siblings. I remember how I slept for days, and when I awoke, he came into my room. He gave me this sad smile and hugged me. I was still disoriented and asked him when I'd be returning to school, and he told me that I might not return for a while. I think I've had a lot of thoughts about what I'd do differently when I father children, but there's so much of the experience that he provided me and so much to the man that he was that I could only attempt to emulate.